and welcome to Coping During the COVID Crisis. And I'm Janet Gross, and we're talking about, what's happening. It's not over yet, and we're really not sure when it will be really over, what's next, or how we'll all try to get back to normal. Of course, normal likely not meaning exactly how it used to be. But as we wait, we cope, and even though we know we're all in it together, sometimes togetherness can be challenging in itself. The University of Holy Cross has stepped up to help with some of the life issues that might have become overwhelming during these weeks and months. And throughout the stay-at-home orders, the University of Holy Cross has been and is using its expertise and its resources to really help the community cope. Dr. Roy Salgado, professor of counseling at the University of Holy Cross, is here to talk about that and how it's helping and how it's going. This mental help that the service from the University of Holy Cross has really reached out to a lot of people, and it's doing good things.
Yes, it's
phenomenal. Can you see that?
It's phenomenal. All this time now, all of these many weeks later, and here we are, and we're seeing the benefits of how we're just being present for the community and just having that availability to people so that they can have someone to listen to what they're experiencing has been invaluable. We are finding to our community.
And really, we've talked about this before in previous episodes, but just recapping, this is a service that lets people who need a little help during this time reach out to a counselor to talk, to have somebody listen to them and maybe give them some strategies or help.
Right, people have been isolated for a long time now. And in that isolation, not having someone that they can confide in and talk to in quite the same way that they perhaps had been able to do before. And just knowing that there is someone available to talk to them, for 50 minutes straight, and just they can, just vent and unload what their concerns are, what's on their mind and what's on their heart is therapeutic and invaluable.
Especially when a lot of times, even if you have other people in the house, nobody wants to listen to you anymore.
Right. And because people don't take the time to listen to one another. Everybody's clamoring to be heard. Everybody wants to say, listen to me, I'm experiencing this, I'm feeling this. But in your everyday interpersonal dynamics, you may not necessarily be getting that. And people at this point are probably getting on each other's nerves. They have been.
Hello, week one. Can I just confess?
Yeah.
But really, all these weeks into it, it is, a lot of nerves are frayed, a lot of tempers are flaring and things like that. And the university, with just making a phone call, setting up a,
They just call the Thomas E. Chambers Counseling and Training Center, and the administrative assistant takes that call and triages it to the director. And then the director assigns that call to a counselor who then returns the call, does an intake session, and engages with them in now a new telemental health therapeutic relationship.
For free.
For free. Free of charge.
So there's a big thing that might say, oh, wait, free? I need this.
Yes, and it's an invaluable service, top-notch service that people would pay high dollar for, or third-party reimbursement would typically pay for in the private sector. But here you have in this training center, master's and doctorally prepared individuals, graduate students, providing the service free of charge with the supervision of their faculty.
And this is a normal thing. This happens at every, any counseling training. You start with this and you learn a lot, and you have all of the training that needs to be going in before you're talking to people. So it's all.
And none of this has changed. This, we're following the same standards by the accrediting bodies that require students to receive a certain type of training. Nothing has changed with regard to that. The only difference is that we're now doing it through distance counseling, through these platforms that are now available to us.
And as popular as this is, I know that a lot of the same issues are probably coming up, and we're maybe seeing, can we plan ahead, to do something else? But as we do that, and of course, as we have found out, nobody is right about anything. So, you hope that this is going to happen, that we'll all be kind of going back on a daily basis. But are we setting ourselves up when we say, oh, on this date, I'm going to go here, I'm going to do this?
It's hard to tell. You need to have the wisdom of Solomon to try to figure all of this out. This is just so ever changing and ever evolving. Today's answer may not be tomorrow's answer. So, but we keep hope. And the counselors that we have on staff, the professionals that are trained offer that hope to clients. Hope is one of those coping skills that individuals can use to navigate this unusual circumstance and to be able to interact with the people in their lives. The interpersonal dynamics that that are perhaps are afraid at this point after all this time being at home with family members. Our counselors can provide that, those skills to be able to navigate through all of that.
Hope is such a healing thing.
It is.
You know, to be able to look ahead. And speaking of looking ahead, because we were talking about this a little bit before the show, what is the next thing? Is the next epidemic PTSD? I mean, are we going to all have, you know, burnout at jobs or, you know, absentee, a lot of the things that come with, you know, surviving a crisis?
You know, I can only speak from my own experience. You know, I feel when I step out, the very few times that I step out into the world, I'm very mindful of what I touch and what I don't touch. You know, I'm not a germaphobe, yet I've been impacted by this event in such a way that I'm experiencing some of the symptoms to meet the criteria for PTSD. You know, and so I think that you might be onto something, that this is something that as a world, after this has subsided, whenever this subsides and we've passed beyond it, we might see people that are a little, you know, gun shy with going out into a public place or touching an item at the grocery store, things of that nature. I don't know if this is going to go away anytime soon. The effects of this event are going to linger for some time.
I think, you know, if you think of our society, any interpersonal communication generally starts with physical contact, a handshake, a hug, you know, something that's close.
You know, and early on in this epidemic, people were having discussions about the new normal and how we would greet one another, and you know, and greeting in a different style than we've been doing for millennia. Right.
Sorry,
that's a good alternative, right? Yeah, yeah. You know, and so you know, things like that are culturally significant, perhaps are going to shift in a different direction.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to talk about what the counseling center is seeing or, you know, hearing from people and how it's working, and maybe some tips on couples, families, things that, you know, the really close relationships that you don't want to see fall apart after this.
Right. You know, society is built on families. And so we need to have those interpersonal dynamics within our families or within couple relationships to be strong in order for us to be able to move forward as a society on a global level. Because if our individual couples and families are frayed, if those interpersonal dynamics are compromised, then that impacts things at a grander scale.
That'll have so many ripples. So,
yes.
Okay, we're going to bring in one of your colleagues to talk about it in just a minute. We'll be right back.
The Willwoods community prays for the safety of healthcare workers, and we thank them all for their dedication and service during this COVID-19 pandemic.
To those on the front lines in hospitals, clinics, nursing homes, and testing centers, we thank you. We thank you for answering the call. The stakes are high and the challenges innumerable, with harsh conditions and no second chances. Yet our doctors, nurses, technicians, transporters, EMTs, pharmacists, and everyone who supports patient care are rising to the occasion, healing and caring for the most vulnerable in our community. You are our heroes. Thank you for the sacrifices you make every day, and especially during this pandemic. Your dedication, commitment, and courage deserve our deepest gratitude and admiration. It's with your help we will all get through this.
Welcome back, and as we talk about coping during this crisis, we want to talk about marriages and family units and just how people are struggling to kind of stay together and really stay together. And it's difficult when you're all crammed into one little small space and nerves are frayed and everything like that. We're going to bring in Dr. Matt Morris. He's the program coordinator for marriage and family therapy at the University of Holy Cross. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Great. I know, you know, we don't know all of the effects of all of this, but there are certainly, we know a lot of the differences. We know a lot of the challenges, and we know a lot of the issues that are coming up as we stay at home, as we kind of look forward and hope for something, you know, a little more normal, quote unquote. But I guess each couple is different, and each everybody needs to deal with it in their same ways, but the goal is to survive this as a couple.
Yeah, that's right. I think that it's important to remember that each relationship is unique, but each relationship requires some level of togetherness and some level of separateness. And right now, we're having a lot more togetherness than separateness. And so couples are having to deal with spending so many minutes and hours together.
I know that I think I've read some of your stuff that said the usual people would spend together as a couple, we're talking about couples right now, is 150 minutes or something like that normally?
Right.
A day?
An hour in the morning, maybe a couple of hours in the evening is pretty typical for the American family. So to go from that level of togetherness to 10, 12, 24 hours together really does put a strain on the average relationship.
And when you look at your home, sometimes it can seem like, oh, great place to be, I get to stay home. And sometimes it can be like, somebody unlock this door because I want to get out.
Right, right. Our homes are wonderful places of retreat. But when you're forced to stay in them all of the time, that sanctuary starts to feel a little bit like a cage or a prison. In most kinds of disasters or situations, we're at least able to go out. And the fact that we can't go out is really taking a toll. I've heard from many people this week that maybe it was last week, but maybe it's this week, the home is really starting to feel constraining.
Yeah, and you're right. If you can't even storm out the door and, drive somewhere, then, that serves as a release. And if you don't have that, then you are kind of stuck to battle it out or to fume or whatever. So I guess what are some tips for couples to really overcome this and to make it through? So at the end of it, you're not looking back and going, I can't stand another day.
Well, number one, I would say it is going into it with the expectation that it is going to be tricky, it is going to be difficult, it is going to be stressful. It's like deciding to take a really, really long road trip with somebody when you know you're going to be stuck in the car. You know you're going to get on each other's nerves. And so as long as you expect that, it's going to be easier to deal with. I think, many couples that I've talked to recently are also noticing the good parts about all of this, that they are slowing down, they are getting to spend more time together, they have much more authority over their time, so they're much more able to plan what they'd like to do with their time. And so just remembering that this will pass and that there's some good things that will come out of this, and that there are things even now that we can be grateful for about this time together. That's what I'm hearing from families, that they're even experiencing some moments of gratitude during all this confinement.
Boy, that is so key to survival, is being thankful for everything, to each other, and for the blessings that we have. If you're thankful for something, then you're not all focused on you. And I guess that's part of it.
That's right. And so having that perspective that this will be difficult and there's some growth areas that will come out of this, I think is really important. In the meantime, I'm talking with couples and families about making sure they have a routine, that they're in charge of the routine. For once in our lives, we're actually in charge of our routine to a large extent. And so really customizing that routine, building it out so it works. If a part of it's not working, have a family meeting, talk it out, rethink it, move some parts around. Making sure that everyone has a space in the home that's their own, that they can go to and retreat to, is important. Making sure that everyone has a workspace that works for them, that's conducive to their work, that's private enough, that allows them to be successful in their work, I think is important. And then to really acknowledge and identify frustration sooner than later. talk them out, much like you would with coworkers. You know, if something your coworker's doing is annoying you, you're more likely to go to them sooner, bring it up, raise the issue, let's talk it out, let's strategize, let's plan it out, rather than what we often do in our most important relationships, we let those irritations grow and fester. That can't happen when we're all stuck at home together. We can't allow the irritations that are typical and normal to really grow and fester into cancers that really affect our homes.
Right. And I guess if you can't bring other people, you can't go out and see other people. In my family, we introduced ourselves to a lot of new games, things to do. I know Dr. Salgado was talking about, you know, you go out and I'm going to try that one. I'm going to try, you know, this activity game. That
Absolutely.
Get
What a wonderful opportunity to do that, to just start doing new things with your family that you haven't done in a while.
It's beneficial personally, not just for the family, but you get out, you laugh.
Right.
You do all those things that are great for couples and families.
Right.
Well, Dr. Morris, I appreciate you being with us and helping us, you know, talk through some of these things. Hopefully, you know, things will change. It won't go back to normal as we used to know, but maybe a new normal where we've worked some things out in this. Do you think that's a possibility where we can kind of have used this time to nurture our relationships?
Yeah, I think that is totally possible, and that's what I'm hearing from couples already, is that while this is difficult and tragic in some ways, it's also giving couples and families time to rethink elements and parts of their relationship. And so, like you're talking about finding new games, couples are finding all kinds of new elements to add to their relationship. And I think that that's really important. This is a time when we can be creative about how we spend our time together. Mm-hmm. And so I do believe that all of us will take parts of this experience forward with us into the future as we get back to normal, but a different normal.
Okay. Dr. Matt Morris, thank you for joining us and talking through some of this marriage and family, the issues that are out there today. We appreciate it. And we'll be right back after this.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
And welcome back to Coping During the COVID Crisis. We have been talking about the University of Holy Cross and the service that they're providing by offering free telemental counseling. Dr. Salgado, it's obviously, I guess you could say a win-win, because the college or the university continues with its learning process and the experience that your graduate students can get, as well as helping the community.
Yeah, it's so multi-layered because the educational component continues. And so the university is up and running as an educational institution. And then the center itself, providing that telemental health piece, that component to the community to offer that continuity of care to clients is also invaluable. So there's a number of different things that are going on at the same time. We're
going to talk to one of your doctoral students now who is counseling people on this telemental platform. Alicia Englehart, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So you've been doing this for a while now. How is it going for you?
It's going fine. You know, when this started back in March, it was very sudden for me and for everybody at the center and around the city. And so it was an adjustment to go ahead and move from seeing clients face to face in the center to seeing them really from my home by use of telehealth counseling by phone and by Zoom. But the process was pretty seamless because Holy Cross quickly allowed us to get trained in telehealth counseling and it provided continuity of care for the clients. We were able to just continue seeing clients that we already had established, and also begin seeing new clients. Most people were struggling with this, and so it was a very seamless transition, I felt.
How are the clients taking it? Are they kind of, okay, I can do this? Or are they welcoming it?
Are they welcoming it?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe that they're thankful that we're providing this service, and it's a trying time for the whole city, for everybody, the whole world, and I'm really glad to be part of the Holy Cross mission to give back to the community and to the clients. So yes, I do think that they're appreciative, and I think there's a great need there.
Is there any, or have you run into any situations where you've needed to call somebody else for help? I mean, I know that you are still in training. You have your doctor, you're a doctoral student, but and you've been doing this for a while before this. But have you run into anything that's makes you nervous?
Not really that makes me nervous. It was just a little challenging at first that it was so quick and abrupt, the transition. And I think the challenge was, like me and everybody else in the city, moving everything to home. And so anytime that I had a question or needed help with any particular client issue, my supervisors were just a phone call away, just an email away. Everyone was very accommodating and helpful to me and to all the other counselors during this time. And so anytime I had to go to somebody for help, I would just pick up my phone and make a call.
As you start your career, is this the way you had envisioned it so many years ago when you started college or the university?
No, no, it was not. But it's been rewarding because learning something new is always a good thing. And like I said, I feel like I can really give back to the community right now with all the problems that are going on in the city. And I feel that the wave of the future may be through telehealth counseling, or at least it's possible that I could do something along those lines in addition to face-to-face contact. So I didn't envision it happening like this, but it's okay.
Okay. Okay, maybe have to do it.
Yeah.
Alicia Englehart, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you zooming in here. Dr. Salgado, I guess this is, it could be the way of, we were talking,
right.
But either or,
right.
And whichever more comfortable for the client. And I guess
and just like our students, I didn't envision this in my professional development in my career. I didn't envision, doing telemental health.
Right.
And yet here we are, several weeks later in the throes of it. And it's here, and it's not going anywhere. Technology was pushing us in that direction anyway.
Yeah.
But now COVID-19 just took it that much more quickly. Mm-hmm. We went from 0 to 60 like that.
Right. A lot of training.
And
you've actually gone to other places and trained.
Yes, we've been able to train over the course of the past several weeks, several hundred professionals, licensed professionals in the state of Louisiana. And we've been well received by the community at large. People are seeking us out, looking for this specific training because they see, one, it's needed now, and two, once regulations are lifted and once everything is back to normal, the new normal, many people are going to still continue to want this service in this way. Mm-hmm. And so professionals are seeking to get that training.
And this is the training that allows you to do it in the state. So
exactly. It allows
without
us to do
this, you can't do the telemental.
Exactly. You need to have the training because you need to adhere to state guidelines in order to render the service.
Okay. So of the things that we've been talking about in this show, some of these affect you, some of them may not, you may have worse issues or more serious issues. But do you have any tips that we can take away today? What are some
Absolutely.
takeaways?
Interpersonal dynamics could potentially be compromised when you're cloistered for such an extended period of time. Dr. Morris was talking about, that, you need to have that special time, that time to be alone, and then that time to come together as a family. But it's important that when you have each interaction with your partner, with your spouse, with your children, that you approach it with wanting to learn something about that individual in that interaction, that we listen to understand what it is that they're saying.
That's key, because sometimes I can look at you and I'm not paying any attention.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, open communication, people think open communication is talking. Open communication is not talking, it's listening.
Yeah.
It's listening. And so just stop the talking and listen to what the other person has to say. And really engage with them and summarize, repeat back. Say, you know, what I hear you say is X. So they really feel heard and understood.
And put your phone down. Sorry. I have to put your phone down.
My son tells me, he goes, Daddy, let's go play. And he goes, but leave your phone here. He's 3, and he knows,
okay.
Leave your phone here. So, you know, people want to engage, whether they're little ones or big ones. You know, everyone wants to be heard. You know, and just to pay attention to your responses when you engage with someone. Don't be thinking of the next thing to say when someone is talking. Be open and listen to the individual.
Okay. So as we go through these tips and all this, most of it is some of them might be considered common sense or politeness, but you really have to pay attention now to be intentionally polite, intentionally in the conversation.
Listening is a skill, and it's a difficult skill for many. We
How
want to be
valuable
heard.
though?
Very, very valuable.
You know, I like it when I can tell somebody's actually listening instead of and you know.
Right.
But when they're really engaged in have a response that actually matches what you've been talking about.
And that's why this profession is such a rewarding profession, because you know you're trained to be able to offer that to another human being. You know, all professions are necessary, but to be able to make yourself available to someone for 50 minutes and they know that you're there and they have your undivided attention is invaluable. And we can offer that to our spouses and to our children as well when we're cloistered for 24 hours.
Even without training.
Even without training,
okay.
Absolutely.
Dr. Roy Salgado of the University of Holy Cross, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you helping us through this and you know, coping with the COVID crisis.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for watching us. We'll see you next time.